All right, so we're joined by two of the four members of Blue Origin's second crewed flight. Chris, Glen, thank you so much for joining us on Bloomberg Television. Chris, I'll start with you. Just describe the experience.
You know, I've worked in the space industry my whole life, and I thought I knew everything, and I was not ready for what I experienced up there. You know, I've heard astronauts talk about space, the blackness of space, the thin line of the atmosphere, the curvature of the Earth, and I'm like, yeah, I know it all. And I got up there, and I was like, it was a deeply profound experience that I'm still trying to figure out. But yeah, it's you have to see it to believe it.
And Glen, Chris is a space executive, essentially. You know, it's a little closer to his world day to day. For you, what was the experience like?
And so I'm more of a healthcare person, but I have been a space person in my personal life. So I also had, I think, a mental picture of what I would experience, and certainly physics perspective on what my body would go through. But I also was completely overwhelmed by what the actual experience was. And I think we just had a completely life-changing view of Earth. I mean that literally, I mean that metaphorically as well. It was probably one of the most important moments in my life.
Well, Glen, let's dig into that. You two are essentially the first, technically the first paying customers to use the Blue Origin product, right? You had the full paying customer experience. What was it like physiologically? What were those moments of weightlessness like on your body? Was it what you were expecting?
Yeah, so I do some aviation flying on my own. I've done some zero-G experiences and some high-G training. It was very different. I would have to say it was peaceful in a way that I don't think any of us were really expecting. It was almost effortless to be in zero gravity, and even the parts of the flight when you were accelerating, but actually going up and decelerating, coming back into the atmosphere, physically they weren't difficult, and the view. Because I was kind of thinking about how amazing it would be when we were at the top of the flight, but seeing the Earth fall away from you and coming back to the Earth was just as spectacular and I think transformative as being at the top and looking down at the planet. So I enjoyed the whole flight.
Chris, in terms of the product that you pay for, walk us through kind of from start to finish how that process works. When did you first start talking to Blue Origin about buying a seat? Did you literally speak to a sales rep? How does it work?
Yeah, I mean, Blue Origin has an amazing sales team. In my case, I know a lot of the Blue Origin team. They come to conferences that I go to. So I nag them every time I see them. I have for years, like, when are you guys flying? And they're like, join our mailing list and we'll let you know. And then, when, their founder, Jeff Bezos, was flying on July 20, they said, hey, Jeff's going to fly. Would you like to fly next? And I think Glen and I both were like, hell yeah.
All right, Chris, there's one question that everyone wants to know. How much does a seat cost on a Blue Origin capsule?
I mean, I'll be the first to admit it's expensive, right? We're going to space on opening night. 2021 is the year we all get to go to space. I'm confident the ticket prices will come down and you'll all get to go. But yeah, the first couple are expensive, and I think it's worth it because somebody had to try it out. Be the beta testers for this new experience. So it's like an absolute pleasure to try it.
But what are we talking here? Hundreds of thousands of dollars, tens of millions of dollars? We have no idea. Give us a sense of the scale.
I'll see them, right?
It is worth it, and it is a privilege to be able to do this. And I mean that in terms of having the experience ourselves, but also we understand that this is the beginning of a space industry that is about access and equity in that access. It's about making things cheaper, making things more scalable. The privilege extends to being some of the people who get to fuel that for everybody else. And so we'll just leave it. It's definitely worth it from both those perspectives.
Chris, your crewmate, William Shatner, AKA Captain Kirk, he was clearly visibly moved and emotional when he came out of the capsule. Could you just share with us, what the experience was like working with him, being a passenger alongside him?
Well, I mean, we were all obviously starstruck when we first met him, and it was very exciting. And he's like, "Will you just get out of the sun and grab a drink of water?" And so we went and sat down and we started chatting. And fast forward, half a week later, almost 4 or 5 days later, he just was Bill, just a guy we're hanging out with. He's really funny. He joked a lot. He really, loved bonding as the team. It was his idea that we do a group thing in space together, that we spend, part of our time connecting as a team. And he's just a wonderful, warm, and very funny, human being to hang out with.
Reflecting that the two of you were the first paying customers, the first transactional customers in that sense. Over the last few weeks and months, there's been a ton of media reports about the culture within Blue Origin, the pressure the engineering teams are under to kind of ramp up activity, and also allegations from whistleblowers that some of that could give rise to safety concerns. How kind of conscious were you of all of that, and did it give you a moment for pause, in the weeks leading up to your launch?
One of our crewmates, and like Chris was saying, we trained together for a couple of days. We became friends. We flew. One of our friends is a senior female executive at Blue Origin, and we've gotten to meet so many people along the way. I know from a perspective of being an executive in the industry, from my perspective of being somebody who thinks about aviation and research and risk mitigation. I mean, we're here because there's an amazing program around safety. And by the way, you don't have to take our word for it. You can see what happened with the flight. When the weather wasn't right, the flight was delayed a day. When there were things that we needed to wait for in the launch, there were holds. And so I felt completely comfortable and safe and had an extraordinary experience here at Blue Origin, and frankly, with everybody who we met along the way, especially my friend Origin.
As someone who's worked in the industry, I've prepared commercial satellites for launch, and you have to make sure that they can survive the vibrations of the rocket on the way up. What surprised me about this ride was that it was smooth as silk. There was no vibration at all on the entire way up. It was just humming like we're in an airplane, smooth sailing. And yeah, so it felt very calming and very safe. So our actual lived experience was that it was fantastic and we had no concerns. And one thing I want to add about the culture was, through my entire process of, I think from March through to ultimately flying, I never actually spoke to a single man. It was quite remarkable to me that every single person that I spoke to at Blue Origin, all the way up the chain from sales to senior leadership, was a woman. And they're in all levels of, I'm not just saying this because, boy, I think they've become family to us at this point. But I've never met another company that I've interacted with in my entire career that has so much female presence in senior leadership and all the way down through engineering. And so my experience of the culture here is that it's absolutely fantastic.
So you were both kind of at the front of the line for this experience. I think what's been really hard to gauge is the demand. What is the addressable market here for space tourism? Did you get any sense during your time speaking with Blue Origin executives at the facility how backlogged they are? Is there a long list of willing paying customers for this experience?
Well, there's 4,000 employees who want to fly, and I know that we met a lot of them. And we went around and thanked everyone we could possibly thank for our experience. And I asked them, would you fly? And they're like, yeah. So, and there's that to start with. And
yeah, and look, you have to talk to Blue Origin about their business plans. I will tell you that having had this experience, I think we said this before, anticipating we would feel that way. I think we all came down to earth with even more conviction about this. This is an important experience, and so I'll let the sales people and business people deal with supply demand curves. But I'm telling you that people on Earth need to have this experience. And again, the privilege that we're getting to be some of the first customers, but to create that momentum where more and more people will be able to go, I think is incredibly important.
Glenn, final question to you. What is the greater opportunity here? Is it tourism, or is there an opportunity for medical research, physiological research in zero-G? Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I 100% think that there's the opportunity to do amazing things from an industrial, commercial perspective in space. Tourism is a word that I think isn't quite appropriate yet. I know the dictionary definition says you just go somewhere because you want to go see it, but it implies a level of triviality that is certainly not there yet. I think if you look at Blue Origin's mission and whatever he's trying to do, the plan, the idea is to make it as easy as getting on a plane, getting on a bus, go to space. And I think about foundational science, physics, biology, getting to space, the things that emerge when we invest in and think about technology in new ways usually benefit people in unexpected ways. And I have every confidence, especially in my field of healthcare and life sciences, that we will find ways to take space technology and use it to help not just people who go to space, but everybody on Earth live longer, happier lives. So again, it's a privilege to be able to do that.
Chris, I want you to put your Planet Labs hat on just for a second. You know, part of the criticism about this is that the participants in space tourism, right, are rich white men principally to date. But Jeff Bezos, you know, has put a little impetus on the potential benefit to the planet, to planet Earth, in going out and exploring space, removing some of the commodity restraints that we're under here on Earth and some of the impact from mining, things like that. You know, do you see Blue Origin's activity as a kind of viable path towards improving things here on Earth? And what do you want to see more of from Jeff Bezos?
Well, I would love, we got to meet Jeff a few times. I would love Jeff to open up and share what he really feels about this experience. He told us that he was more excited to see us fly than his own trip, because for him it was the first steps in actually creating this road that he wants to create to space. And as, you know, Glen mentions, once we have a way to get to space repeatedly and reliably, where we're not throwing away our rockets every time, I think there's so much we can do up there. And so the fact that, you know, okay, we're both middle-aged white guys, we're very aware of the privilege that we've been conferred to be able to do this thing. We understand that. But one of the things that I think will happen is that prices will come down and people will get to go. And, you know, there are systemic issues that we have in our society that prevent women taking careers in science and technology and engineering. We need to fix those. Those are root cause problems. And so I think hopefully if we can fly and get the cost down, get more people up there, share this experience, within a decade, I think we can get more people into places where they're privileged to fly and they get to experience it. And that's really what I want to do. I want to see everybody fly.
All right, Chris Boshuizen and Glen Vries, in a single word, was this good value for money?
Absolutely. Yes. Do it if you can.
All right, well, we're very grateful to speak to both of you that you're now back safely here on Earth, and we'll keep an eye. Just one quick one. You did 3 minutes in suborbital space. How about 3 days with SpaceX out at 320 miles above the Earth? Are you interested in doing that?
Do you have a ticket? We'll take it.
Yeah, I think anybody who experiences space for any amount of time is probably going to want to experience it for as much time as they possibly can. It's why the idea of access and equity in that access is so important, I know, to Blue Origin and its mission, and to us personally.
All right, well, the next time you guys find yourself in space, let's do the first live interview from space. How about that?
Sounds good.
How about you do it with us in the capsule?
All right, good to speak to you both. Thank you very much.
Thank you.